Hello students and welcome to Legacy IAS. It has been 50 years since the very first microfinance institute came into existence. Alright, so it has been basically 50 years for the microfinance sector. So we will see how it has done, what it is doing, what are the challenges in front of us, so on and so forth. So what is the news? In 1974, that is 50 years back, the first microfinance institution, that is self-employed Women's Association Bank, SEWA, was registered as a cooperative bank. So it's been 50 years, becomes very important for the upcoming prelims and mains examination. Regulation of microfinance, if we talk about, see, microfinance, any financial institution, I'm not talking about the stock exchanges and all, even you may call it as a financial institution, but that is with respect to the equity. These are debt finance institutions, alright, not equity finance institutions. The equity one is taken care by Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. SEBI regulates that. As far as the other microfinance institutions, the banks, the NBFCs, the urban cooperative banks, including the microfinance institutions, they are regulated by RBI. So as far as regulation is concerned, RBI is the regulating body for microfinance institution operating in the country. Now, Malegaon Committee in 2010, constituted by RBI itself, recommended for holistic framework to regulate NBFC microfinance institutions. Holistic framework as in a separate, dedicated, holistic, comprehensive framework for MFIs, that is microfinance institution on their own. Now, let's see about the microfinance institutions. Microfinance institution, basically the idea for them is to provide financial inclusion. Financial inclusion. And if you look at the name also, the name suggests, name is what? Microfinance. So they will finance at a micro level. So they would generally provide small micro amount of finances. Who is going to take micro amount of finances? The poor, the marginalized, the low income group people, right? So that those are the sections of society who need financial inclusion. So the idea is financial inclusion. It offers various financial services like small value loans, right, or savings, small value loans, etc., to the marginalized and poor individual who lack formal banking services. Okay, it is for them. Not just that, even one more reason is, let's say even the bank is present. Let's say an ICICI bank or HDFC bank branch is present in a remotest area, right? You can go and get the loan, but the problem is they would ask for mortgage, they would ask for salary slips, this, that, everything. Now here the loans you can get is without the collaterals also. Now in personal loan in HDFC, ICICI also there is no collateral, but there is a requirement of 6 months salary slip, this, that. Here also they will check, but they will check some other thing. For example, if someone is taking loan from a microfinancial institution for starting a small business because they don't have a job. Now without a job, without a salary slip, without any income, they cannot get it from the private scheduled commercial banks. So that's when the microfinance institution comes to the rescue. I hope that's clear. It includes multiple services, of course, like banks. It's just up to a small level and certain benefits that are provided to the poor and the marginalized people. So it provides savings account, fund transfer, micro insurance, etc., etc. Right. Now, what is the significance? It is a potent tool for financial inclusion and socio-economic transformation or socio-economic development or upward mobility, because it gives some amount of money for someone to sustain themselves, start their own business, self-employment, etc., etc. All right, this can be done. It empowers women through the self-help groups also. Urban cooperative banks are nothing but legalized form, or it's not to say self-help groups are illegal, but they are generally not institutionalized as such. They are quite uninstitutionalized, unorganized. Urban cooperative bank is an organized, sort of an organized form of self-help group is what you can understand. Poverty reduction and overall rural development, this is also very clear. Now what are the challenges in the microfinance sector? So as I said, you may get loans even without collateral. Now when you are getting loans even without collateral, will the interest rate charge be less or more? It will be more. Same is the case in scheduled commercial banks. For home loans, you will get less interest rate. Why? Not because they are doing some good deeds towards you, it's nothing like that. It is simply because when you take a home loan, housing loan, the documents of your home is with the bank. So if you do not pay, your house would be sold and the money would be recovered. In fact, there is a buffer also. For example, if you want to buy a house of 1 crore, you will not be getting entire 1 crore as the loan. The maximum loan you can get, depending upon your income and all, if everything works fine, the maximum loan you can get is only 80% of this 1 crore. That means only 80 lakhs. This is another buffer. Or else what will happen? It is like you take 1 crore loan and you do not pay the bank back the money. So it is like selling your house only. Right? So that is why 20% less than the market value of the house, not the market value, the value that is assessed by the government officials or the bank officials, not bank, the government officials basically. Why I am saying by the government? Because government has documents which clearly mentions the different price of a particular area and the different price of construction of that particular area. So when your house is being evaluated, they check how much is the land in which area, what's the cost, and what's the cost of construction, and how much is the built up area as per the map. So it is a very objective calculation which is done. There can be some people who may restrict it and all, they do that cost cutting and also that registration cost to be paid on the house is less. At the same time, if you want more loan, you can show the value of the house to be more in order to take more loan. All that is done, but that should not be done. Okay, this is sort of bypassing the principle that is laid down. That's a different thing. Let's focus on what is the actual scenario. So if 1 crore is the price, you can get only up 80% of the loan, that is only up to 80 lakhs. So that if you are planning not to pay, you have just taken 80 lakh rupees loan and your house is actually worth 1 crore. So you will be in loss. So it is a nudge for you to pay the loan. And even if you don't pay, the bank is covered. The bank's losses and all are covered. So this is why interest rate on home loans will be less. If you take a personal loan, the interest rate will be high because there is nothing to mortgage. You have not kept anything with the bank. However, they still check your salary slip, income, etc. But still, if you run away, if you lose your job, the bank has nothing. That is why the interest rates will be high. Now, in microfinance institutions, I said that you will get collateral-free loans even without collateral. So, but obvious it is that the interest rates would be high. That is why you have absence of collateral, which is making it difficult to offer secured loans. It should be to offer secured loans, right? That becomes difficult, as a result of which there will be higher interest rate compared to those charged by commercial banks, right? Why even with commercial banks this will be higher? Because here commercial banks at least looks at your salary slip, this, that. Here it is done by the urban cooperative banks, are a type of microfinance institution. It gives loans only to the people who are members of it, and even you are not earning, still you get the loan. It is an institutionalized form of self-help group, you can understand that. So that is why higher interest rate. At the same time involves extending services to a large number of small debtors. Means what? Just imagine you have small debtors. So if a scheduled commercial bank has given 1 crore rupees as a loan, maybe it has given to just 2 people, 50 lakh. When it comes to microfinance, and if 1 crore has been given as loans, maybe it is given to 1000 people. So 1000 processes would have been done, here just 2. So that is why the cost increases, because the amount per person is smaller. I hope that is absolutely clear. So higher credit cost also frequently struggles to avail cheap funding. So ultimately even microfinance have to give you, for giving you loan, have to get money from somewhere. So where will they get cheap funding to give you loan? That has also been an issue. Other issues include low financial and digital literacy among the people who take the loans. Even though they do not have understanding what is best for them, even they do not have understanding of utilization of the fund, etc., leading to more such issues of NPAs, so on and so forth. So low financial and digital literacy among poor borrowers, persistent reliance on money lenders. These people then end up relying on the money lenders, which charge them higher and higher even than the microfinance institutions. So the solution here should be whatever. See, if you want to look at solution, look at what the problems are. So if there is lack of financial literacy and awareness, provide literacy and awareness. Provide literacy and awareness towards institutionalized source of loans, then non-institutionalized source of loans. Provide intervention by the government and from different sectors, from the private sector, to avail cheap funding in order to lower the interest rate and help in let's say coming up with economies of scale to reduce the transaction cost. So all these solutions can be looked at. All right, so that's about the microfinance institutions, which has now completed 50 years in India. Thank you.